Right. Thank you. Well, thank you all for having me here this morning. I'm glad that you all braved the weather to join us this morning. I know it's crazy, right? Well, my name is Gina, and I am a licensed master social worker and a clinical therapist. I currently work at Oakland Psychological Clinic in Grand Blanc doing individual mental health therapy. So this presentation I adapted from a larger presentation that I gave for mental health clinicians on burnout. But the topic of burnout is something that all of us in the professional world, in our personal lives, we can all experience burnout, especially dealing with the last 2 years, right? With everything with COVID, it's been a lot of stress. So this presentation, just a couple of objectives. I just want to give you a brief overview on what is burnout, professional burnout, personal burnout, how do you identify some of those signs and symptoms, and then what do you do about it, right? The most important step. If you're feeling burned out, how can you manage that, or what are things that you can do to help reduce those symptoms of burnout so that you can keep going, keep doing the jobs that you love. And then also just to provide support and understanding to each other as colleagues, right? When you understand how burnout works, when you understand what other people are going through, it helps us to have a little more understanding, a little more sympathy. So what is burnout, right? I found a couple of just things online that I thought were good explanations, right? This says, I'm just going to put an out of order sticker on my forehead and call it a day. How many of you have felt like that before, right? Yes, definitely. Another quote I found, when someone asks me what is wrong, I simply reply with, I am just tired. And they say to take a nap. But you see, this exhaustion is not something that can be resolved by sleeping. I cannot simply shut my eyes and wake up okay. I need a break from my mind, my feelings, my life, this world. I need to get away for just a little while and let my soul rest. That's what we're talking about today. Not just that it's been a long day, I'm tired, I need to go to sleep, but that I feel it in my soul that I need some rest, that I need a change. And then this was just another quote. I feel really burnt out lately, and I'm trying to be more honest about it. I don't have the energy to text my friends back a lot of the time. I feel isolated, and I want to sleep a lot. Work is hard. I've mentioned this to a couple of friends who said they feel the same way. So we're seeing more discussion online, just from people out in the world saying, you know what, I'm acknowledging that I'm feeling more burned out lately. And it can happen across any field. We see it a lot in the education field, especially right now, in the medical field, the mental health field, in business owners. Everyone is feeling a lot of burnout right now. I was even watching, I like to follow Yoga with Adrienne. I don't know if any of you are familiar with that. On YouTube, she is awesome, but has, good things for burnout, doing yoga, awesome, right? But she was even being interviewed and said that during this COVID-19 pandemic, that she was feeling the burnout from doing yoga all of the time. And you think, wow, something that is such good self-care, but when you do it day in and day out and you're constantly giving to other people, you can feel burnout in any area, even when it's a helpful thing that you're doing for yourself and for other people. So it's not just something that happens to people in high-level corporate jobs. It can happen to anybody on a daily basis. So what is burnout? How do we actually define burnout? So burnout was first identified in 1975. It was looked at more in a professional setting at this point. The research was done on people in the workplace. But Herbert, I think it's Freudenberger, 3 main components was what he identified for burnout. So that emotional exhaustion that we were just talking about, that fatigue that comes from caring too much for too long. The second component that he identified was that depersonalization. So having a lack of empathy or caring or lack of compassion. And then a decreased sense of accomplishment. So feeling like no matter what you did, it just wasn't good enough or wasn't worth it. People weren't benefiting from that. Doesn't make any difference. So what are some warning signs of burnout? How do you know if you're kind of heading in that direction? Disruption of sleep or eating, difficulty with concentration. A lot of times those are kind of those first signs of, okay, something's going on here. If you start isolating yourself from family, from friends, from colleagues, that's a really important sign. Failure to take regularly scheduled breaks, which I know, depending on the work that you do, it can be hard to schedule in time to take a break. But when you are constantly going and going and going and not taking any time for yourself, that can definitely lead to burnout. Enjoying work less than you did in the past. That's a huge kind of warning sign if you're not finding that fulfillment and enjoyment. Finding yourself bored or disinterested in the work that you're doing, or becoming easily irritated. Experiencing recent life stressors, such as an illness, personal loss, relationship difficulties. We're all human. We all have personal lives outside of our work lives, right? And those play a big role, a big factor in how we deal with our work life as well. So feeling emotionally exhausted or drained after meeting with people. A lot of times, for those of us, especially in like community work that we do, usually we feel energized, right? After meeting with people. It's like, yes, I feel kind of pumped up after talking with people, meeting in groups. If you start to notice that you're just feeling drained after you meet with people, that can be a big sign of burnout. If you're self-medicating, overlooking personal needs, personal health, thinking of being elsewhere when you're working, easily distracted, wishing that you were on a beach somewhere warm instead of, here in the 30-degree snow. I think that's normal, though. That's not necessarily burnout. But just wanting to be anywhere else than your workplace can be a problem. Finding your work less rewarding or gratifying than you did in the past. Feeling depressed or anxious, easily agitated. Enjoying life less than you did in the past. Just not being able to find that enjoyment in the everyday things that you used to. Experiencing repeated headaches or other physical symptoms. A lot of times, our stress comes out in stomach aches, in headaches, in physical pain in our body. So pay attention. If your body is telling you something, there could be other things going on. And then just sitting and staring into space for hours, not being able to concentrate on the work that you're trying to do. So there's a lot of work-related factors that contribute to burnout. A big one is setting. I don't know how many of you during the last 2.5 years had to adjust, adapt, and do work differently. I know for me, for a whole year, I was at home doing therapy over a computer screen in my basement, which was not the greatest, environment. So your setting can have a big play a big role in that, right? Especially if you're working from home, you don't have that separation of going to work. This is my office. This is where work things happen. When you're blurring those lines of home life and work life, it can be really taxing. So paying attention, what kind of setting are you in? Are you sharing spaces with other people? Do you have your own office, or are you having to kind of move around other people? What kind of population are you serving, right? Are you serving high needs or demanding populations that require more of your energy, more work being put in? Do you have a lot of deadlines, a lot of pressure that you're under to meet those deadlines? Supply shortage? Has anybody here, have you been affected by supply shortages or staffing? Yeah, it's been a big deal, especially these last 2 years. Not having the supplies that you need to do your work, and then not having the staff, right? That's a huge thing. And then all of that extra work is piled on top of you because you're the only one, right? So a lot of factors contributing. How many years have you been doing the job? A lot of people just started out their careers right before COVID happened, and then all of a sudden everything changed, right? And if you are new to whatever your field, your business is, trying to do that in the midst of everything is really difficult. And then if you've been doing it for 20, 30 years, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't keep doing this same thing, right? So years of experience can go either way. It can be a good thing to have a lot of years. It can be just that extra stress and everything added on top of it. How many hours are you working? Are you working outside of the hours that you set for yourself? How many people are you serving a day? How many meetings are you having a day, right? I don't know if this applies to any of you here, but being on call, are you getting calls in the middle of the night to go out and deal with a crisis? Or, maybe not in the middle of the night, but are people calling you at 6 o'clock in the morning? That's tough too, right? Not having that separation. How many breaks are you taking throughout your day? I mentioned that before. And then administrative responsibilities. Paperwork is my least favorite thing to do. And I have a lot of it in my job, unfortunately. So that can really bog you down too, right? And if you're in charge of collecting fees or payments, that can be really stressful too, especially right now where a lot of people are financially struggling, right? And you have that pull of, well, maybe they can't pay right now, or they're running a little short and I feel so guilty, but I have to collect this money for my business, right? That can be a really hard thing to do. And then, of course, there's a lot of personal factors, right? Because like I said, we're all human. We all have lives outside of the work that we do. So your family life, do you have young kids at home that you're taking care of? Are you caring for a sick or elderly parent? How is your own health? Are you having any issues there? Your finances. Finances are one of the things that cause us the most stress, right? It's really hard if you're struggling financially. That causes a lot of stress on an individual and on families. How are your relationships? Are you struggling in your marriage? Are you getting ready to have a child? Are you going through separation or divorce? All of these are personal factors that can impact our burnout rates. Mental health, huge. We have seen in the last 2.5 years a significant increase in the amount of people seeking mental health support. A lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. Anxiety has been huge over the last 2 years. Probably people who had anxiety before, right? But just, it's all kind of come to a head right now. So seeing a lot of that, and those are just the people seeking support, right? There's a lot of people who are struggling emotionally who aren't seeking that support. So mental health is huge. And then substance abuse. We've seen a big increase in substance use and substance abuse lately as well. I know this is going to be really hard for you to see, but I saw this on Facebook, of course. One of my friends who is a business owner posted this, and I thought this was a really good kind of description of what it means, or a personal experience of kind of burnout in the business world and just everything that's kind of gone on. So I'll read it to you. This was just a public, I don't know this person's actually in New Zealand, but just like a public post that they made. It says, the unfortunate truth of owning and running a business. Running a business is really hard. What they don't tell you is that it can cause severe stress and anxiety and drains you mentally to the point of depression and even in the most laid back people. People will talk about you, compare you to others, use you. They will view you as a service and not a person anymore. Friends and family will expect discounts, and people will value you and your hard work less than a big chain store. You have to worry about if you forget to email, message someone back, are they going to think it was on purpose? Did you disappoint them? Will they hold that against you? When in reality, you just can't get to everyone's messages and emails. Starting up and running a successful business puts incredible strain on personal lives and relationships, many of which fail because there's just often no work-life balance. You need to be a director, the worker, the admin, the marketing team, the accountant, the cleaner, all whilst being a parent, a husband or a wife, family support, friend. It's one of the hardest things you will try and balance. There's a reason you don't see many people succeed in small businesses after 5 years. If they are successful, they are overwhelmed. It takes a toll. It's freaking exhausting, right? Especially the past couple of years when so much has been out of our control. Here's a small business reminder that we're just normal people with hectic lives. Be kind, be patient, support small businesses, and hopefully more of us will stick around. So that's just one person's kind of take on their experience being a business owner during all of this. During regular times, I'm sure it's very difficult, but during the last 2 years dealing with everything, it's hard. And unfortunately, we don't always take the time to appreciate the work that other people are doing. So, what do we do about burnout, right? We hear the term self-care a lot, at least I do every day. I'm sure a lot of you have heard, well, you just need to do some self-care, right? Well, what is self-care? So I found this, and I thought this was a pretty good description, right? Self-care isn't always chocolate cake and trips to the spa. Sometimes it's meal planning, going to bed early, or letting go of a bad friend. It's forgiving yourself for not meeting your own impossible standards and understanding that you are worthy, always. Self-care isn't just luxuries, but it's a means for survival. Right? Self-care can be a trip to the spa, but it can also be, just like it said, cutting off a toxic relationship or saying no to somebody, right? Not overextending yourself. Those are things that we do to care for ourselves. So I have just a brief activity that I wanted to share with you. This is an activity that I do with a lot of my clients. It's a good activity to do at the beginning of a year, throughout the year. And this was just a quote that I like too. I am a lighthouse rather than a lifeboat. I do not rescue, but instead I help others find their own way to shore guiding them by my example. I think this is really important, especially for people in management, administrative work, right, in the mental health field. A lot of times we try to take on everybody else's stuff, but we're meant to guide people and walk alongside people, not, take on everything. So this is a self-reflection activity. So let me come over on this side. This I adapted from a book working with children with anxiety, but this works really well for adults. This is already filled in for you, so I could give it to you as an example. But what we do is we start up in the top left corner at values. It goes against the way that we naturally flow, but I like it. So values. You have yourself or other people identify. What are your top 4 values? Obviously, we all have a lot more than just 4 things that we value. But what are your top 4? What do you look for in other people? What do you want people to see when they look at you? So identifying, this person said that they value education, honesty, compassion, and fairness. So then we drop down, after you identify your 4 values, drop down to the box of beliefs. Identify your top 4 beliefs. It doesn't have to be, a belief doesn't have to be anything like religious or spiritual. It can be, but a belief can be something like, I believe that everybody has the right to higher education, right? Any kind of beliefs that you have. This person said, I believe that people should have equal opportunity. People should feel safe in the world. Women belong in positions of power, and kids should have a voice in choices being made for them. Then we look at dreams. So dreams are the things like now, changes that we want to see in our kind of immediate short-term future. And then the last box are hopes, and that's more the long-term, big picture, what do we hope for ourselves, for the world around us. So this person said their dreams are to own a business, to get their master's degree, be married with children, and make enough money to donate to charities that are important to them. And then hopes for COVID-19 to end, right? I'm sure that's a hope for most of us. My family to stay safe and healthy, for their dad to find a job, and to have stable income. So when we do this activity, we look at, okay, are things in alignment here, right? This person says, I value education. I value honesty, compassion, and fairness. So looking down at those beliefs, do your beliefs reinforce your values? If you say that you believe something, you say that you value something, is that reflected in what you're actually doing, right? So this person is in pretty good alignment. They believe that people should have equal opportunity. That is in line with fairness, right? That value there. And compassion. People should feel safe in this world. I think that is part of compassion, right? We have compassion for people who don't feel safe. We want things to be better. Women belong in positions of power. I think that goes with fairness and education, right? Kids should have a voice in the choices being made for them. Again, fairness and compassion. So this person's values and beliefs are pretty well aligned. And then how do those things influence the plans that you have for your future, the dreams and the hopes that you have? This person wants to own her own business and get a master's degree, which ties back into that value of education. And this person happened to be female, so believing that women belong in positions of power, right? Having that equal opportunity. And wanting her dad to have a job. I think that shows that compassion, right? Thinking about other people. So this is a really good activity to see, okay, am I in alignment? If I'm not, that's okay, but you need to make changes, right? So it can be a really good self-awareness. Where do I need to make some changes in my life? Because if I say I value something and I say I believe this, but it's not shown in what I'm actually doing, there's a problem, right? A disconnect. So how do I get that in order? If I want to be somebody who expresses this value to others and I'm not doing that, what do I need to change so that I can be that person? So I found this to be a very helpful activity. It's good for all of us. And then some other just self-reflection questions. These are questions that I came up with working with clients. I like to do this like the end of December, but these are things that you can do at any point. Birthdays, anniversaries, those big kind of milestones are always good times to reflect. What skills have I learned this past year that have helped me to grow? What have I learned about myself this past year that I didn't know before? What are my hopes for the next year? What things from the past year do I want to leave behind? I think that's probably the most important one, right? A lot of times we go through things, we go through experiences, and we feel like we have to carry all of that with us, when sometimes it's better just to let some of that stuff go. What things from this past year do I want to carry forward? You get to choose what you take with you on this journey. Some things you may say, heck no, that's not coming with me this next year, right? But some things you may find really valuable. You say, I want to expand on this next year. That skill I learned, that relationship I developed, those are things I'm going to invest more of my time, more of my energy into. What are some other things that you can do? So, structuring your work so that it works for you. Maintain healthy boundaries with your clients or the people that you serve and with coworkers. Don't schedule business activities outside of your predetermined work hours, whatever that looks like for you. I'm terrible at this, I will tell you. Like, I usually on Thursdays, I don't go into work until 1. But a lot of times, if I'm full, I'll schedule somebody at 12, I'll schedule somebody at 11, because I like to be accommodating, right? I like to be available for people. But that can be harmful to you too, taking on more than you can handle sometimes. Sometimes it's okay to be flexible, but just honoring your own limits and boundaries that you set for yourself is really important part of self-care. Limiting communication outside of business hours. I don't know how all of that works for you. I feel like with email and text and all of that, sometimes it's hard, but setting limits. I'm not going to check my email on my phone before 8 o'clock. I'm not going to check it after 7 o'clock. And just having some of those boundaries in place for yourself. Planning time off periodically for vacation or just to take a break. I don't know about you guys, but I took time off during spring break because I have young kids and needed to be home with them. But I didn't go anywhere or do anything fun. But I was pretty jealous of all those people out in Florida and all the beach pictures that I saw. But good for them, right? We all need to take breaks sometime, do something fun, go somewhere warm, especially right now with us here in Michigan. It's a little rough. So make your schedule work for you. Block out time for a lunch break. I know we hear that a lot and we think, oh, well, it's a working lunch. You need breaks. It doesn't have to be every day, but even if you take 30 minutes to sit and enjoy your food without having your face buried in a computer or being on a conference call and trying to mute yourself so you can take little bites, right? You need to take scheduled breaks just to give yourself a little breather. Avoid scheduling challenging meetings back to back if you can. Sometimes that's hard, but just giving yourself a little break between. Leave time for finishing paperwork while at work instead of taking it home. Again, having healthy boundaries and that work-life balance. Outsourcing time-demanding administrative tasks if you're able to. That can be nice. Prioritize self-care, scheduling movement into your day. Even if it's just getting up, walking around your building, going outside in the parking lot and doing a couple of laps. That can be helpful. I do yoga in my office periodically, in between clients, on my lunch break, when I can, because I sit all day. Staying hydrated and nourished, really important. Prioritizing sleep. Sleep can have such an impact on our mood, on our level of irritability, how we handle stress, how we interact with others. So getting yourself on a good sleep schedule, trying to go to bed at the same time every night, getting enough sleep, really important. Doing something fun. Engage in a hobby or an activity that you enjoy. Taking care of the relationships in your life. Investing in the people that are important to you. Saying no. Again, boundaries, right? Don't overextend yourself. It's okay to tell somebody, you know what, I really can't this time. Conduct periodic distress and competency self-assessments. Just asking, that's a more clinical thing, but just asking yourself, how am I doing? Check in with yourself. Am I feeling burned out? Have I been really stressed? How are things going? Check in, and if you're not doing well, seek help. See a therapist, see a counselor, talk to friends. Continue to build your support system. Reach out to other professionals. I think it's great that you all meet in a group like this where you can network and help each other, share resources, and just have other people to help carry some of that burden, right? Join a group where you can ask for support or suggestions. Attend education and training opportunities so that you're continuing to learn and grow in your knowledge. That can be really helpful. Okay, my favorite topic, boundaries, which you've heard me say a lot of, but one of the best things that you can do to care for yourself and to care for other people is to set healthy boundaries in your relationships, in your personal life, and in your relationships in the workforce, in the work that you do. So many of you may be familiar with the story, The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein, but we are going to listen to that story just as a refresher and talk about some healthy boundaries.
The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein. Once there was a tree, and she loved a little boy. And every day the boy would come, and he would gather her leaves and make them into crowns and play king of the forest. He would climb up her trunk and swing from her branches and eat apples. And they would play hide and go seek. And when he was tired, he would sleep in her shade. And the boy loved the tree very much, and the tree was happy. But time went by, and the boy grew older. And the tree was often alone. Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come, boy, come and climb up my trunk, and swing from my branches, and eat apples, and play in my shade, and be happy." "I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money? I'm sorry, said the tree, but I have no money. I have only leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you will have money and you will be happy. And so the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away, and the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day the boy came back, and the tree shook with joy, and she said, "Come, boy, climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy." "I am too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" "I have no house," said the tree. "The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house. Then you will be happy." And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house. And the tree was happy. But the boy stayed away for a long time, and when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak. "Come, boy," she whispered, "come and play."
"I am too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat?"
"Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and be happy." And so the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away. And the tree was happy, but not really. And after a long time, the boy came back again. "I am sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone."
"My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy.
"My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them."
"I am too old to swing on branches," said the boy.
"My trunk is gone," said the tree. "You cannot climb."
"I am too tired to climb," said the boy.
"I am sorry," sighed the tree. "I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I am just an old stump. I am sorry."
"I don't need very much now," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired."
"Well," said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could, "while an old stump is good for sitting and resting, come, boy, sit down and rest." And the boy did, and the tree was happy. The end.
So classic story, right? One we've heard a lot. We think, oh, like what a sweet story. This tree loved the boy so much that she gave everything to make him happy, right? Okay, but how healthy is that, right? This poor tree is just a little stump sitting there. He took everything from her and left her with nothing. And he wasn't happy either, right? He just kept taking more and more, thinking that that next thing would bring him happiness. And how often does that happen, right? That we just give and give and give, and it never really satisfies the people that we're giving things to, and then we're left with nothing. So there was Atlanta Artist Relief Story Contest, and this person, Topher Payne, created an alternative ending to the giving tree, which I think is pretty fantastic. So the tree who set healthy boundaries. So we're going to go back into this story and see what would be different if this tree had set some healthy boundaries with the boy. So we're going to pick up where the boy comes back and he says, "I'm too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?" And the tree said, "Okay, hold up. This is already getting out of hand. Look, I was fine giving you the apples to help you get on your feet. They'll grow back next season anyway. But no, I'm not going to give you a house. You know, I've seen boys like you pull this nonsense with other trees in the forest. First it's the apples, then the branches, then the trunk. And before you know it, that mighty, beautiful tree is just a sad little stump. Well, look here, boy. I love you like family, but I'm not going down like that. And while we're on the subject, the tree said, grabbing him by the collar of his shirt, I recognize friendships evolve over time, and we may not see each other as often because you don't have time for your tree friends, but we used to be real tight. Now it feels like I only see you when you need something. How do you think that makes me feel? The boy took a long breath. He felt a sour rumble in his stomach because he realized he hadn't considered his friend's feelings. I bet it makes you feel bad, said the boy. Yes, boy, bad. I can't even remember the last time you asked me how I'm doing. How are you, tree? Asked the boy. He sincerely wanted to know. So the tree told the boy all the gossip from the forest and introduced him to the family of red squirrels that had moved into her trunk. While she was glad for the company the squirrels provided, she was concerned about the long-term health effects of hosting a burrow. So the boy called the local arborist, who explained that squirrels don't eat wood. They only build nests in pre-existing holes. So the tree was in no danger. The tree was so relieved, and so was the boy. He loved his friend, and he was concerned about her long-term health because she had taught him the importance of empathy. And so it continued, the tree and the boy looking out for each other like that, both of them content in the knowledge that someone had their back. The boy attended culinary school. The tree took courses online and got her certification in small business management. They did their homework together nearly every day. The boy became a pastry chef. Together, they opened a bakery selling the best apple pies anyone had ever tasted. It turned a profit in the first 18 months, which is most uncommon. Eventually, the boy had a son of his own, and much later, the son of the boy had his own family too. Because of their friendship, the boy was successful and fulfilled, and the tree grew wider and stronger, standing tall and beautiful in the forest for many, many, many years. Plus a few years even more than that. And as each generation played in her strong old branches, the tree often thought back to that fateful day when the boy had asked her for a house. In truth, she would have gladly given him her branches to build one. She would have given him her trunk to build a boat. She loved him that much. But then she would have had nothing left, not for herself nor anyone else. And there never would have been a home for the red squirrels. There'd have been no hide and seek with the boy's grandchildren, no bakery with the best apple pies anyone ever tasted. Setting healthy boundaries is a very important part of giving. It assures you'll always have something left to give. And so the tree was happy, everyone was. The end. So you see a very different conclusion to that story. When we set healthy boundaries in our lives, we're taking care of ourselves and we're helping the people around us, right? We're teaching people how to be independent, how to do things for themselves. Doesn't mean that we can't help people, right? That we can't guide them and be a support for them. But it doesn't mean that we have to give everything in order to help people. So, number one thing I want you to take away today is self-care is about boundaries and looking out for yourself. So just the last thought I wanted to leave you with. Do not be dismayed by the brokenness in the world. All things break. and all things can be mended. Not with time, as they say, but with intention. So go, love intentionally, extravagantly, unconditionally. The broken world waits in darkness for the light that is you.